5 points for Jenson Button finishing in first there. Nick Heidfeld and Timo Glock. There was some confusion about who was second and who was third during the time when the cars were sitting on the grid, but it's 4 points for Heidfeld and 3 for Timo Glock. Jarno Trulli with 2.5 points, which will look rather interesting all season long. Rubens with a couple of points. Mark Webber with 1.5. Lewis Hamilton finishes in the points for the second consecutive race, although of course his points from Australia no longer stand. And Nico Rosberg, the Williams driver, with just half a point at the bottom there. So congratulations to Jenson Button. We'll talk about him very shortly, but of course the start of the day belonged to Jenson Button. Belonged to Nico Rosberg. We can hear from him right now.
Well done, Nico. If we can say well done, I mean, 7th place, it's not bad. Still not sure what points will be awarded, though.
Yeah, I mean, the race started off really well for us. We had a fantastic start. I think I did well, and the team also gave me a good car for the stars, and from then on it felt very nice. I was able to push and pull away a little bit every lap. So I was really in a comfortable second after the pit stops to Jenson, who was just generally quicker. So it was going really well, and then the weather came down, and I think we didn't get the choices quite right along the way. I'm not even really sure what happened. And 7th in the end. Okay, it's quite disappointing, obviously, but still, again, some points. That's the least.
Right thing to do, though. I mean, it hasn't been raining for a few minutes now, but it would have been a bit mad to start it again under a safety car, wouldn't it?
I'm not sure. I don't really know the condition on the track. Could have been all right, but I agree, and I say it's better this way, because really, I mean, before it was just unreal. I was aquaplaning with full wets, going 30 kilometers an hour. I could not keep the car on the road. It was ridiculous.
Thanks, Nico.
Well, you can't blame Nico Rosberg for being slightly confused, along with everybody else here. Of course, he did finish in 8th place. That's worth half a point for him. And now let's hear from Rubens Barrichello.
Well, Rubinho, we're just dodging cars here in the pit lane, but good to get some more points, and the right decision to stop it when they did.
Yeah, it's that's the unfortunate thing of starting the race at 5 o'clock, yeah. Basically. So, but yeah, it was definitely the right thing, because visibility now, not from the rain, but from the sky, it wasn't going to be easy.
And you were unlucky, you think, with choosing the inters and the full wets when it was inters, and then vice versa?
Well, let's put it this way. It was a great race with a bit confused calls from the pit lane and dodgy pit stops. So it could only... I think, you know, the thing to say is that the car was great to race, and I was racy and everything. And we lost a little bit too much during the pit stops, which we have to reveal. But another win to JB, and the car going great, so pretty good.
Your turn next. Thanks, Rubens.
Lewis, you finished 7th in pretty extraordinary circumstances. How difficult was it out there?
I think it's 5th, wasn't it? Was I 7th or 5th?
Officially it's 7th, but we are still discussing.
Ah, okay. All right. I heard I was 5th, but well, that's less exciting. But we had an exciting race, and we did the best we could.
How tricky were the conditions and before the safety car came out?
It was impossible to drive. You know, there was aquaplaning everywhere, and it was very, very dangerous. I think it was the most dangerous conditions I've been in, for sure.
It looked a bit of a tyre lottery at some points as well.
It was. I think perhaps the first tyre change, we maybe made the wrong change, but the other two was probably the right way forward. Thank you.
Well, Eddie, Formula One prides itself on its precision and its correctness. We've got drivers here, including the current world champion. Not sure where they finished that race. What's happened?
Well, it's very clear, and their team bosses should have known, and they should tell them. The caption that comes up on the screen is that the race was declared at their 32 laps, and the rule book, as Martin has pointed out, it goes back to the last complete lap, which is 31 laps. The disadvantage for people, like if you saw the change between Heidfeld and Glock, that should have been rectified under a safety car, because if they'd gone as it was 32, then of course we would have had that finish, but because it was 1 lap less, then of course you had to go back to the old position.
Right, okay, well let's hope the drivers have now been briefed and they do know what the situation is. We can hear from all three now.
Well, Jenson, as you just said, it's never easy, very difficult at the start, and what calls you had to make with changing weather conditions as your pit stop approached?
What a crazy race, it really was. I mean, my start was pretty bad. I had a lot of oversteer in the car. I don't think I got heat into the rear tyres. Went back to 4th, got up to 3rd, eventually got back to the front, and I was pretty happy with that. You know, our pace was good. And then the rain started, and choosing the tyres was very difficult, because normally here when it rains it pours, but it didn't to start with. We went for the full wet tyre, and it just destroyed itself. So saw Timo flying up behind us with the Inter, so we put the Inter on. Just as he came by, I saw his tyres were bald, and it was raining out the back, so he was struggling quite a bit on that and had to pit. So I got one lap in on the Inter with a reasonable pace, was able to get in and put the wet tyre on and come out in front. So a very interesting race, and you know, I still haven't seen a checkered flag without a safety car in front.
Well, Jensen, we'll come back to you in a second, but congratulations on that. And Nick, in 05, from 10th to 3rd, and now from 10th to 2nd, great use of the conditions, a long fuel strategy, came in on lap 22, a little bit earlier than you needed to, and worked out perfectly for you.
Yeah, I think it was a very difficult race, obviously, in these conditions, and took the right tyre choice. Or not the perfect tyre choice. I went straight to extras, as Jensen said. Normally there's heavy rainfall here, and then the team told me there's heavy rain expected. I told them Inters would be a lot quicker now, and then just when they told me to pit, it started to rain heavier, and actually it was just 200 meters from the pit entry. Then I said, no, I stay out, it starts to rain more heavy, as I tried to preserve my tires. In the beginning, some other guys were quicker than me on the extra wets, but I knew if the rain starts, then hopefully I can stay out. That worked, but still my rear tires were destroyed completely, and was a slick basically, and when it started to rain, I just tried to stay on the circuit.
Fantastic result for you and the team, of course. And Timo, a great call to go on to the intermediates, as Jensen has just said. Talk us through that.
Yeah, it was a tricky race, I have to say. I mean, at the end, I have to say, one of the best races I ever could do. But, you know, from the start on, we struggled a bit at the start. I don't know why we lost so many places. I couldn't believe that Fernando and Kimi were in front of me in the first corner. I didn't know where they come from. And I struggled, and I was only, I think, P8 after the first lap. And in the traffic it was really tricky. And, you know, after 5-6 laps, I saw already the clouds are coming. And I was every time asking, when is the rain coming? When is the rain coming? And, you know, they said, you know, it should come in the next couple of minutes. And then I thought, you know, when it takes so long, because you saw the big clouds come indefinitely, and it took just so long, and we were so close to the first pit stop. So I said, okay, you know what, I take the risk, we go for Inters, and then we see, because the other, I saw already Felipe Massa, I think, on heavy wets quite early, and I knew they will destroy at least the tires as well. So I said, come on, we go for Inters and take the risk, and at the end it paid off. And but, you know, the last 2 laps behind the safety car, it was so confusing, because my engineer told me when I did the pit stop, you're leading the race. So I said, okay, I don't push because I want to save the tires. And then I saw Jensen coming out in front of me, so I was P2. Then I jumped out of the car. Everybody said, you're P2. Now I came up here, I'm P3. So hopefully when I come down back to the team, I'm still in P3. So that's what I'm hoping for.
Well, as things stand, Timo is still in P3, and it wasn't just Timo talking about the safety car. Jensen Button made mention of it. It must be his lucky charm. I'm sure he wants to see a safety car for the next 15 races.
Well, it's getting him to the race victory, but I think he's just making fun of the fact that he hasn't had a clean race from start to finish and see the checkered flag without following that Mercedes safety car.
And Eddie, will this feel like a win to Brawn GP? Last week when we were in the pit lane, the euphoria was incredible. It is only half points. It did finish in the rain. What will the atmosphere in the team be like?
Exactly the same. They don't really count up the points. As far as they were concerned, they were on the top of the podium, and it's a Grand Prix victory. It doesn't, in the folklore and the history books, it doesn't talk about half points. It talks about winning the Malaysian Grand Prix 2009. So Jensen can be justifiably proud, and indeed Brawn. It is just an unbelievable story. We talked last week about a fairy story. This is just mind-boggling. I can't get my head around it, because brand new team, pole position, both races, and win both races. It's fabulous.
Well, hopefully this will help you get your head around it. Let's have a look at the drivers' table, because it's crystal clear. Jensen Button at the top, 15 points. He'd like that to be 20, but what matters is that he's at the top.
Yeah, I would have loved to have been there come the end of a racing season. Incredible to see Rubens there backing him up. So a very strong start for Brawn GP. Having said that, their starts are not so sharp if we saw the start of the Grand Prix. But running down there, big surprise is we don't have a Ferrari driver at all. So very disappointing start to the season for them. And of course, McLaren not showing the form that they had last season.
Last season, Ferrari only had one car finish the first 2 races, Eddie. It's not started well for them again. And if Felipe Massa or Kimi Raikkonen are going to push for the driver's title this season, they need to get it together and get it together quick.
Well, I've said on a number of occasions this particular weekend and in last weekend, these teams had in the past ability to spend their way out of trouble. They haven't got that ability now. OK, gentlemen, thank you both very much for joining me in the dry here. In a couple of weeks, we'll be off to China for the 3rd race of the 2009 season. Please, keep your fingers crossed for some sunshine. We'll see you in a couple of weeks. Bye-bye.
In the dark, you can't see shiny cars, and that's when you need me there. With you, I'll always share. Because when the sun shines, we'll shine together. Told you I'll be here forever. Said I'll always be a friend. Took an oath, I'ma stick it out till the end. Now that it's raining more than ever, know that we'll still have each other. You can stand under my umbrella. You can stand under my umbrella.